Welcome to the Vet SOS Veteran Entrepreneur Spotlight. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the Vet SOS Lifeline. The Veteran Entrepreneur Spotlight is sponsored by Spearpoint Solutions. Spearpoint Solutions is a one-stop shop for leading-edge products, services, and training from multiple vendors. From AI training to corporate gifts and much more, they have everything you need to help your organization thrive in the modern economy. Check out all the valuable offerings at spearpointonline.com. And remember to use the code VETSOS to continue to support us and what we're trying to do here with the podcast. Today, we're sitting down with Kat. She is a proud Air Force veteran and founder of Small Space Pilates, an online community where you get fit and fabulous while rediscovering your fabulosity via online classes and have access to a library of videos you can utilize anytime that fits your schedule. She has over 40 years in the fitness industry and is currently certified as a personal trainer, Pilates instructor, and a Cancer Exercise Training Institute certified instructor working with cancer patients. Kat is also the host of the podcast Sisters in Service that features all military members, but specifically women. That's a lot you got going on, and 40 years experience is crazy. So how are you doing today, Kat?
I'm good. I look good for 82, right?
You do. You look outstanding for 82. Oh, my goodness gracious. So much in there. I mean, the Cancer Exercise Training Institute, just the fact that you're certified to be an instructor there, I imagine the lives you touch and help is just amazing. And I'd love to get into that, but we don't have a whole lot of time. We want to definitely get to your business part.
Sure.
Let's start with your transition. How'd your transition out of the Air Force go?
Well, I thought it was going to go great. I was one of those people that I walked out with my DD-214 and I expected a band and music and balloons and, everyone partying. And I walked out the door and there was nothing. And I thought, do I have the right day? Is this the right day for me to do this? And then I kept walking and started the proverbial, like free floating. Like my feet weren't on the ground. I didn't know where I was. I was trying to get a job. It was very disheartening for me to have 20 years as a communications project manager and being told that, anyone who's transitioned, you've heard all the things, you're overqualified or you don't hear back or anything like that. And it lasted about, I want to say 6 months because I was trying to figure out what it was because no one so I transitioned over 24 years ago. And so no one talked about it. It was like the secret word that no one talked about. And every now and then I would see someone who had retired come back to the squadron in civilian clothes. And I would think, why are they here? What are you doing here? Go home, have a life. But I now understand that the transition part from being 20 years in the military had a lot to do with mourning my career. I was missing the people that I was so familiar with. So my transition wasn't as bad as most, but it was very surprising for me.
I think that is the biggest surprise and the least talked about thing is, especially for retirees, the abruptness with which your service ends. Like I went through the same thing. I walked in there, they handed me a flag and a DD-214 and thanks. I'm like, that's it.
Yep. You strutted out of there like
and I walked out and that was it. I was just like, whoa, okay. Yeah, we're just not ready for that. And that the morning, I love that image of mourning the career. I think that's a great way to put it.
And I think the longer you're in, the more it happens. I guess you mourn your career if you did 4 years, but after 20 years of being around the same people in the same uniform, it really was mourning. But I didn't know it was that at the time. It was only years later that I realized that.
Yeah, and I would say it's probably even more amplified if you came straight out of high school or you did ROTC and came straight out of college or whatever, where all you know is the military. I think that it amplifies it even more then. So
absolutely.
Let's jump into the entrepreneur side. So what led you to become an entrepreneur?
I think I've been a closet entrepreneur for years. I was one of those people that I always sold stuff. Whatever it's like, oh, sell, be a, the whole MLM thing. I didn't realize that's what it was, but I sucked at it. because my heart wasn't in. People were like, you want to buy my thing? No. Okay. Do you want to buy this? No. Okay. Okay. And it didn't matter to me, but I had this passion to share all the knowledge that I had. Not only that, but helping people to move. If you move your body, studies have shown that it helps to, increase your lifespan. And so that was my take on it, although I had no idea how I was going to bring that to fruition. I knew I didn't want a brick and mortar, but how else was I going to do it? And so I had to figure that part out. Thank goodness for my business coach, because she helped me see the light.
What you have an outgoing personality though, which a lot of people don't like. And God bless my wife. We've been married for over 20 years, and she also she tried Mary Kay. I think at one point she wanted to try Pampered Chef, and I was like, you're not a salesperson. So, and I'll grant she did most of that before we got married and everything.
Right.
It's come up a couple times. It's like, you got to be willing to, especially with some of those programs, you almost got to anger all your friends.
Well, I think you just have to be. I wasn't passionate about it.
Yeah.
And that's part of being an entrepreneur is, being an entrepreneur is scary. There are days when it's so hard. You think, why did I do this? But then I remember my why. And I think, okay, I'm back on track. And so I have this passion for it. And that's what brings you back, is the passion. If you have no passion for something, like you're a podcaster. If you don't have a passion for this, you would have done a few episodes and then go, yeah, this is too much work. But because you have a passion for it, it keeps you going forward. It keeps you doing it. Even though there's some things you don't like to do. I mean, that can be any job, but you have the passion for it, and that's what carries you through.
Absolutely. And once you can tie your why into something, it just makes it that much easier.
Yes.
So what's been the best part about being an entrepreneur?
I have to say, learning new applications such as Canva, your website, all of those things, and putting it into play and watching it work within your business. I think that's been the best part, is because I always say me and the word entrepreneur have been dating a long, long time. It's been a long-term relationship. We didn't want to commit, or it was me. I didn't want to commit. But I will say that, we finally got married, me and the word entrepreneur, because I never used that word. People say, what do you do? And I go, oh, I teach classes. I'm like, no, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a small business owner. And I love the way that sounds.
That is awesome. And I would assume that you must really be excited then with AI coming on board and all the things you can do with that.
AI has been interesting. I've never said no to something because I was afraid of it. I'm always one of those, ooh, what is this? Like when I first started podcasting, I said, I will never, ever go on video. And now we're doing video. And I'm like, well, look how things change. So sometimes I'll see something that maybe it's not right now, but maybe later down the road, I can use it.
Yep, absolutely. So what's been the worst part about being an entrepreneur?
I think people always ask me about my team, and I say my team is me, myself, and I. And that's the hardest part, is all the moving pieces. It's you doing it. I can't just say, oh, let me have my team do it. So the hardest part is making sure all the balls are in the air and nothing drops. Of course, balls drop. They just do. You forget to post something on social media. You forget to put your newsletter out. You put your podcast out there and it wasn't edited the way you thought you wanted it to be edited. I'm human. And I think that's one of the things that we have to realize is, as entrepreneur equals person. It's not just a conglomerate. It's not other people. It's you. And so realizing that I can't do all the things all the time, that things are going to happen. I'm better keeping up with these things now than I was in the beginning. And so, just realizing that I'm a person. My business coach likes to say, sometimes we do it messy, and messy is beautiful.
Yep, absolutely. So other than using a business coach, were there or have there been any programs or anything you've used to help you with being an entrepreneur, either to get started or continuing education?
I think one of the things that helped me a lot was realizing what platform to put my website, was really because I have Kajabi, which is really good because it pulls everything together. You don't have to piecemeal. All the things you need are right there. Canva's been incredible for me. And you're looking at someone who knew nothing about Canva, who I used to say I was not a creative. I can now maybe say I'm a creative a little bit. Social media, I'd always been on Facebook and LinkedIn, but Instagram has been huge. Learning how all these platforms, YouTube has been big. So learning the platform, reading as much as you can, getting help when you need it. I think that's one of the things that entrepreneurs are afraid to do, is ask for help when they need it. And if you ask me, how can I help you? I'll be like, okay, how much time do you have?
Nice. All right. So tell us about Small Space Pilates. What are you doing with that?
So Small Space Pilates started during COVID. And I had a client who lived in a mobile home, I guess. The kind that you could drive to different places. What do you call that? I guess, is it a mobile home? RV. Yeah. And I was helping her working out. And she said, a lot of people don't think that they can work out because they feel like they don't have the space to work out. And so that's how it started. And I called it Small Space Pilates because she was doing Pilates at the time. But I realized that women in midlife, we look around and our kids are either not needing us as much as possible, or like they used to, or they're off to college. And then you have all this time on your hands. And one day you look in the mirror and you go, who is that person looking back at me? Because you don't recognize, because in your head, you still think that you look like you did in high school or something close. And you don't recognize that person. So I like to say that I give women the opportunity to get their fitness fabulosity back, to feel better in their body. Because the one thing I love to say is I believe, and I truly do believe, that everyone has the right to feel good in their bodies. And so anyone who's a part of what I call the Yacht Club, which is where we do live classes with me, and I tell people there's a no perfection policy in place. And that goes for me also, because I'm not perfect. So when you see women on these videos and stuff, and they've got perfect hair, perfect lighting, they're on the beach, they say the right things, there's no bloopers. There's lots of bloopers because I'm just bringing me. And I think it gives the people who come this opportunity to just sigh and take this big breath and go, okay, I can just be me. And so I have 4 classes a week. I also have a library. Every class is recorded, and no, you don't have to be part of the recording. And I put it in on the website, where if you miss class today, you're still able to do class at a later time that fits your schedule.
That's fantastic. And I'm as guilty as anybody about using that excuse, like staying in a hotel or whatever, or traveling, and I don't have the time or the space
or the space. Exactly.
Yeah, it's no, that's fantastic, and I love your view on it. One about no perfect rule. I mean, I think that's huge.
Yes,
we all have flaws, and we all,
because I'm not perfect. So why should I expect other people to be perfect?
Right. And it sets people at ease. It makes them comfortable, and and then just the fact that you believe that everybody has the right to feel good in their body, and that really just carries over to what you're trying to do, and your passions. That's fantastic. I absolutely love it. All right, so tell us what's the best place for people in the audience to connect with you, and the best place for them to check out your business.
You can reach out to me. My email is kat@smallspacepilates.com. That's probably the best place if you're interested in the classes. If you're just interested in knowing a little bit more about Small Space Pilates, or even someone who thinks they'd be a good fit for the podcast.
All right. Outstanding. Well, Kat, I want to thank you for joining us today, and thank you for what you're doing. And we didn't even talk about the podcast, but I know he focuses on, women specifically with military ties, and that's just fantastic. But on behalf of the entire VES family, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And remember, you can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, social media platforms. Please subscribe and follow so you don't miss anything. And remember, don't drown the sea of transition. Grab the VES Lifeline.